Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back. In the last one we started off the game, and now we're in the pits. This stage has, I think, 53 boxes in it, 20-ish or so are in the bonus. And this level is kind of annoying in that it introduces something that Crash 1 had to an extent as well. But I think Crash 2 has the worst of it, if not Crash 3, even though I can't remember as many opportunities for it to happen in Crash 3 outside of maybe 2 levels. And that eventually we're actually going to find ourselves at a split pathway. We'll go over exactly what that means for the level when we get there, but one thing I should note about this level, and I think you can see the first one in the distance right now, is that there is a second type of turtle enemy introduced in this stage that's kind of the inverse of the ones we saw last part. Whereas the ones in the last part act more or less the same as the ones in Crash 1's high road stages and such. These ones you need to spin or slide into in order to damage them. You can't jump on them due to their very obvious buzzsaws. Either way, we just passed the split pathway, and the thing is, whenever there's a split pathway in stages like this, you need to go down both for 100%. There's no two ways around it. Usually the crystal is along one, whereas more boxes are along the other, or in the case where there's another gem over there due to whatever the level has, it's over there. But what you generally have to do for these kind of levels is go through one, backtrack to the other, and then go through the original one again to get everything. If you want to do that in this stage in particular, you want to go through the left one, because that's where the crystal is even. Then go backwards through the right one, and then back forwards through the left. And you generally want to save the checkpoint until afterwards, but I'm confident enough in my abilities that I can get this done easily enough. And the fact that you have to backtrack through the stage isn't my issue, it's the backtracking itself. I know that sounds kind of redundant, but what I mean is, when you're backtracking through a secondary path in this game, the camera is awful for it. Because it's acting basically as if it's the camera you'd be using if you were traveling forwards. Unlike some stages where you actually do walk backwards, this just outright doesn't work for it, because it's not pulled back far enough for you to see what's going on around you. I don't think N.Gin Trilogy fixed this issue either, so be careful. The only good thing is that while you can't see enemies coming that well, or pits like that, for instance, some enemies don't spawn or attack until you're in front of them anyway, so you don't need to worry about it, like the birds in this stage in particular. I know that armadillo was there unless I'd gone this way to begin with. I do think, honestly, though, it is easier to go from the right backwards to the left and then back forwards through the right in this case, because it just feels right, and plus you need to do it anyway because that's how you get these two hidden boxes. Thankfully, with that backtracking out of the way, which I did obviously cut a part out of because there was just nothing else along the way, we can now progress through the stage. Again, you probably should have kept that checkpoint until now, but well. Oh great, more of these things. Again, you can just slide jump over these with a good spin or hang onto the terrain around you. But now it's time for the bonus stage, which has our first of these crates. These are locked crates, I think is what they're called, unless they're reinforced. I forget which. And the thing is about them is that, as you can see, I'm jumping on it, spinning on it. It's not breaking. We need to give them a good ground pound in order to actually take care of those. They more or less just start off as things you have to figure out along the way, like that. But eventually they actually get a bit trickier with them in that you need to carefully platform your way around bonus stages like this with them and destroy the boxes in the right order. Also notable, the multi-fruit crates that I just jumped on a moment ago are the first instance of a few in this game of those particular crate types. Usually they take 10 hits and 10 Wumpa Fruit to get, but some, like this, only take 2. I don't know if there's an actual distinction visually and you can tell which ones are going to do that or not until it actually breaks beneath you. But that can be annoying. Also, notable... Oh, that... Whoops. Notable thing that N.Gin Trilogy changes to an extent about the bonus stages in this game, I believe, is that... it's not the game in general, actually. Certain crates, life crates in particular, I think don't give you lives if you screw up the bonus the first time around. So say you got the live crates the first time around and you fell in a pit or something, I don't think they'll give you lives in the second go around. Though that might also just be the question mark crates or whatever. I think they might be the ones that do it. I forget. Because at the time of recording this, I haven't played the N.Gin Trilogy in around a year because I got all the platinums in it. Why do I need to go back to it? Though I believe they're actually releasing the Switch version in my time is coming out in like a month, I think. And I think that's getting a new level for Crash 3? that I think was like one of the beta levels for that game, which I guess is notable. I'll probably pick it up, maybe. I doubt I'll go for everything in it again. At least not all the relics, because, whew. That's, that is not a chore, but it's a task. Either way, time for Crash Dash, the final level of the first Warp Room. And this is our first chase level. You might remember Boulders and Boulder Dash from the first game. It's time for this version of that. And they actually give you a bit more interesting things to do this time around these levels. Because, for instance, we have these mines. Those mines don't kill you. They just blow you into the air and make you fall down slowly. Essentially, they're time wasters to try and give the boulder a chance to catch up with you. The only real hazards in levels like this are the boulders themselves, by hazards I mean ones that will damage you, the boulders, the pits, and these electric gates, which, well, obviously they can shock you. Obviously, you want to be a bit more careful about that. However, I should note that if you're playing the N.Gin trilogy, you're going for the relics, these types of stages are some of the most annoying. Even though the camera's more fitted for these kind of stages than it is, say, backtracking in the normal levels, memorizing the stage layouts for these can be kind of annoying, mostly because compared to, say, the normal stages in the game, you actually cannot see what's coming ahead of you, which is intentional on the design's part. It works as a level itself, but speedrunning it, oh boy. The second of these levels in particular is one that I find really annoying. By the way, I should mention, in terms of crates for this stage, there are 44 in the stage, 17 of which I think are in the bonus here. Oh, and I just remembered, I forgot to mention the relic times. The relic time for this stage to get the gold is underneath 1 minute and 7 seconds and 22 hundredths, I believe, in N.Gin Trilogy. Whereas in the pits, it's 1 minute, 11 seconds, and I think about half a second. Notable thing about this level, though, levels like this where you have an instant death threat behind you, like chase levels or otherwise, Aku Aku is actively banned from them. I like when you enter with him, he just vanishes. I'm not sure if you get him back when you enter this, exit the stage. I've actually never paid attention to that, if that's actually how it works. But that is worth noting because if you say you want to try and get a second HP, it's not going to work for you. And a little bit of interesting thing about this game is that it has kind of a dynamic difficulty system. In that, in a section, like say a part of this level, if you die over and over, let's say on this checkpoint, eventually the boulder slows down actively to give you more of a chance, so you can just try and get better at the stage. Also, interestingly, there's another part to that dynamic difficulty system in this game, in that if you die at certain points of other stages a lot, not only will you, per se, get an Aku Aku if you die at a certain checkpoint enough, it'll also add another checkpoint to the level, basically changing, I think, one of the, either the question mark blocks or the standard crates into a checkpoint. And that, I actually really like that. I think the N.Gin trilogy did that for all the games in that. But that's a really handy system. Especially if you're younger and you're not quite good at the games or judging what you're going to be doing. That's really nice. I like that Naughty Dog did that. And that is the last level of Tier 1 done. I think with that we have all but one thing in this tier. And I think that's something in Snowgo? Yeah, the red gem. We don't have the red gem yet. Nice.
Listen up. We are not without enemies. Some of them you may even recognize. Although they cannot harm you inside this warp room, they can attack you on your way to the next one. To get to the next warp room, use the platform that appears in the center of the room. Good luck.
Well, at least thanks for wishing me luck. Also notable, in the N.Gin trilogy, the last few crates in the previous stage will be broken by the boulder, so you don't need to actually spin them yourself unless you want the reward. Either way, time for boss 1, who's a little bit familiar. Ripper Roo returns, and as Crash 1 stated, he actually got a college education. The way this boss works is that you're going through 3 phases of this. He'll jump all over, creating TNT blocks, and he'll eventually blow himself up with them. At which point he goes bonkers and will do the exact same pattern, only now it's nitro crates. At this point, you just need to predict where he's going and stay away from him. In fact, this entire fight is just trying to avoid him rather than actually attacking him. Once he steps on the nitro crate and blows himself up, though, oh boy, that was close. He will be susceptible to damage, so you can do that then. Notable thing about this fight, though, especially if you look in like the mid-left of the screen, like below the PP in Ripper Roo, you can actually see there's an extraordinarily thick book there, and the texture on it actually indicates that it's a Crash Bandicoot 1 strategy guide. And I love that adorable detail. I think all of these books in the N.Gin trilogy were given titles like there's ones that's like almost essentially Einstein's theories of physics and such like that. Just cool little background details like that. Either way, though, 3 phases of this and Ripper Roo is done. Honestly, compared to his fight in Crash 1, a lot less annoying. I'd still say he's harder than the first boss of Crash 1, though, given the fact there's much more of a threat of death, given the nitro crates and such. Plus, I don't think you can bring... Actually, I'm not sure if you can bring an Aku Aku into this fight. I've never actually attempted, because usually I lose it due to Crash Dash. And with that, we're done with Tier 1. When you finish the boss of a certain tier, you go on up, and you're in the next one.
I see that Ripper Roo failed to prove much of a challenge yet again. But back to business. There are crystals to be gathered, 20 to be exact. The planets will align shortly, all 13 of them, and this will create a power great enough to rip the Earth apart. Properly utilized, however, the crystals can absorb and contain the energy.
Crash, is that you? I've been looking everywhere. I don't have much time to tell you this. You have to be careful. Trusting Cortex seems a little unwise. Crash, I can't keep the data path open this longer. Crash, you need to come...
Well, crap. Also notable, each one of the warp rooms in this game is actually based off one of the aesthetics in the level. The first one's based off the jungle levels, like the first level even. And the second warp room is based off the ice levels, like Snow Go and Snow Biz. And Snow Biz is where the game starts to get a bit annoying with its boxes. First off, there are a lot of boxes in this stage, 124. 18 of them are in the bonus. However, we actually can't get the box gem here yet because it requires the red gem from Snow Go. And I think almost half of the boxes are in the red gem route. So we're just basically going through this stage as normal. I think there was a box added to this place in the N.Gin trilogy, though I'm trying to remember where that was. I want to say it's in the red gem route, which I believe we're coming up on anyway. But it doesn't really matter in the long run. Also, in the case you're going for the N.Gin Trilogy trophy / achievement of getting all of the gold relics, the time for this level, I believe, is 1 minute, 9 seconds, and 82 hundredths. And since I know I can't get every box, I'm actually actively ignoring some like that, or I don't really care if I miss some. Though I would still recommend, even if you know you can't get the gem in a level, the clear gem more specifically, I still recommend spinning as many boxes and crates as you can, just because the extra Wumpa Fruit or lives you can get along the way will just help you out in the long run. Now, a notable thing about this stage, in particular in regards to the bonus when we get there, is that it has something only it and 4 other levels share in the original PlayStation version, in that it's possible to die once you get the exit of the stage and still have the boxes be counted in your total. I forget, I don't know exactly how you do it because I've never done it myself. But essentially, if you die when the game is adding the boxes to your tally, it'll save those boxes, yes. However, it'll count as you not clearing the bonus. And the interesting thing about that is that allows you to go back into the bonus and get more boxes than there are in the level even. You can actually go theoretically over the 124 in this stage. In fact, because of that, I think it's possible to get the clear gem early in this stage by doing so. I'm not doing it, obviously, but still. Also, I don't think I mentioned it yet, but one of the things I love about this game added over Crash 1 is that it added a box counter. It's not perfect yet. It's missing one thing that Crash 3 would add, where it actually shows you the amount of boxes you've destroyed out of the maximum in the level, which, needless to say, that's kind of helpful. But if you're playing the N.Gin trilogy, it doesn't matter because all 3 of the games had that anyway, which I'm thankful for. My reason of thinking that they didn't implement the checklist kind of thing in this game, where it shows you the amount of boxes you destroyed over the amount on the stage, is that when you get to the end of the level anyway, it'll show a transparent box that we're about to see that has the amount of boxes you've destroyed out of the maximum. So that's how you're supposed to judge how many you've destroyed. Therefore, you could just check how many you've destroyed thus far and go, okay, well, I have this many left. Of course, that requires beating the stage once already, but I think they intend you to play the stages multiple times, because on the first playthrough, you're not going to know what you're looking for. Either way, with that, it's time for us to head into Air Crash. One of my least favorite levels in the game for a couple of reasons, mostly because I think this is the one you have to visit the most if you're going for everything as early as you can. More on why in a moment, because I'm actually not going to be going over all the stats for this level quite yet. Why? Well, you see, Crash 2 introduces something over Crash 1 that's rather interesting. As we'll see right here when we hit this checkpoint, there are boxes in the water. We can jump on them, and when we actually land on them, platform over all of them in a chain to reach that very suspicious-looking platform there. That's there for a reason. Hidden within certain stages in the game are warps like that. They take you to this hidden warp room, which is actually in N.Gin Trilogy below the first one. And we're actually supposed to be on the top of the Cortex's island from the first game, which is pretty cool. If you look around in that warp room, you can actually see the first 2 islands from Crash 1. But either way, for every single hidden exit you find like that, you find a hidden warp to either a prior level that you couldn't get everything in earlier. Like right now, we're in Snow Go. We're here to get the red gem now. But it also allows you to access a few exclusive levels later on. I think Crash 3 would implement this in its own way later on, in that there were certain levels that you could only access through this, albeit there were much fewer of them. So because of this, always be on the lookout for platforms that look suspiciously out of place, or just rooms in general that seem not entirely right compared to the level thus far. There are 5 warps in the game, each one leads to a warp in that room, so keep your eyes out. Also, I'm having a hell of a time with the ice physics. I think N.Gin Trilogy made the ice physics both a little more tolerable and a little less, because you felt like you were more in control due to the fluidity of it all, but at the same time, your momentum felt more like ice physics to begin with than this is, and thus could be a bit annoying. Though on the whole, I think the control changes to N.Gin Trilogy actually make the games overall better. It's just whether or not the hitboxes want to work with you sometimes, I swear to God, especially in looking at you, High Road and Road to Nowhere in Crash 1. Ugh. Also, I like that they just give you an invincibility mask to screw over the entire section. Nitro crates. This is actually where they were in the level when I destroyed the... well, a lot of them were, at least, when I destroyed the Nitro crate when we were here last part. Oh, that was bad. Whoops. And there's our red gem. So now I'm actually just going to cut to the exits, because there's nothing new in this stage for us to see otherwise. And with that, Tier 1 is now complete. And since we have the red gem, we're not going to Air Crash quite yet. We have our first level revisit to do, because now that we have the red gem, we can get every crate within Snow Biz. So let's head on up to the second tier by getting on this, and when he's pointing up, press up. Notably, if you hold, I think, triangle during these sequences when you're on the elevator, you can refight the bosses. And now you just want to head on over to Snow Biz. You actually have to jump off that platform, which can be kind of annoying. And the way I'm treating revisits in Crash 2 is the exact same as they were treated in Crash 1. I'm speeding up the level while playing their N.Gin Trilogy theme for stuff we've seen before. However, whenever we get to, like, say, a colored gem pathway that we couldn't access before, or otherwise, I am slowing the footage back down to normal speed so we can actually take a look at this stuff we haven't seen yet. Crash 2 in the N.Gin Trilogy's soundtrack, I think, got treated fairly well. I think it got a bit heavy on the guitar to begin with, but I think some of the tracks in this game were a bit heavy on the guitar to begin with, so it kind of bounces out of my eyes. Now, one thing you should keep in mind when it comes to the warps, by the way, in this game, is that in the original PlayStation version, if you want to, say, go back to the level they allow you to access, you need to go find the hidden warp exit again and take it to access the levels again. In N.Gin Trilogy, they changed it so that when you are on the elevator between tiers, you can just head below the first one to access all of the levels that you gained access to through there. The warps never disappear. In Crash 2 PlayStation, though, you have to go the long way around, which is kind of annoying, but it's not that major. Especially because, admittedly, I think Crash 2 does one thing right in that the levels are a bit more balanced in length. Unlike Crash 1, where some were much longer, some were much shorter. There's still some longer levels in this game, but comparatively, they're generally a lot more averaged out in length, which I can appreciate. There's only one level in this game that comes out to me as absurdly long, and veterans to the game know exactly which one I'm talking about. This area can be a bit annoying, though, if you break the boxes in the wrong order, because if you don't break the checkpoint block in the right order, you can make some boxes in that little section there completely impossible to get. Fun fact about this death animation, it was censored in Japan. I forget exactly what they changed the animation to, but in Japan, they replaced it because there was a serial killer on the loose roughly around the time this game came out who decapitated their victims and left their victims' heads with their shoes. Yikes. Which, mind you, like, it's not one of the first times that happened. Like, I immediately think of the... Oh, what was the name in Earthbound? The Happy Happy Clan or whatever? Because I remember that was based off some cult that attacked certain subway stations with sarin gas or something along those lines. I always find it interesting when games either have to change or add stuff in based off recent events like that. I don't know why I do, I just always have. This jump's a bit annoying. I find it easier to get over that if you do the... Well, obviously it's easier to get over there if you do the spin jump glitch, but getting over that to begin with requires a slide jump, and it can be kind of precise. I'm not gonna lie, I think Crash 2 still has a few jumps that are a bit precise, but usually they're later in the game, which I'm generally more okay with because at least that's a difficulty curve. But compared to Crash 1, where there were... Oh, Christ. Where some jumps were more treacherous to begin with, it's notable. Either way, with that, we've seen most of what the stage has to offer. The one thing I'm not going to speed up in this level is actually me getting these 4 boxes. Because while it's not hard to get them, you can basically just slide jump the entire way up. It is notable to be able to see the way you do it in real time. I don't know what it is about remasters, though, of games. Getting the soundtracks a bit more techno-y, because Crash did it, the Yakuza games, at least Kiwami 1, its soundtrack is a bit more techno-y than the originals. But I actually kind of like that, albeit it can make some of the songs sound admittedly samey. But that's, I guess, the price you pay. Either way, Snowbin on the revisit, which is not too bad. There are some annoying jumps, obviously, and there's always the threat of death, given the fact that Crash is a rather fragile marsupial. But on the whole, nothing too bad. Either way, that is I think we're exactly 100% that we can have thus far in the game. So with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 3, we'll finally be entering Air Crash. See you guys then.